السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله العليم الحكيم الذي خلق الإنسان وعلمه. Praise be to Allah, who is the Rabb, the evolver, developer, sustainer of all that exists, who created the human being and taught him and repeatedly teaches us. Allah is Al-Alim, the one who knows all, and He is the one Allam al-Insan, who has taught and teaches the human being. نستغفره نستعينه ونتوب إليه ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. I welcome you all to this part 2 of At'am wa Ibadah, the food and worship, food and service to Allah. And I will do just a brief summary for those who may not have been here last time, and then sort of too as a reminder for even if you were here last time. So the main thing about this is that there is a very strong relationship between our food, our eating and drinking habits, and our worship to Allah Ta'ala. And there are ways that Allah has ordained and commanded us that allows this to remain as it should be and allows us to remain in a really good ibadat or good worship and service to Allah. And the food is one of the main, after Iman, faith, that food is one of the main things that enables us to continue in this good, healthy ibadat or worship. So I want to say that the understanding Islam is very key to everything. And Islam, we say that Islam is the most misunderstood religion in the world. And that is true outside of our ummah and inside. So in the Quran, Allah Ta'ala in Surah Al-Ali Imran, the 3rd surah, the family of Imran, Allah says, Inna deena inda Allahi al-Islam, that inna, surely, definitely, the way of life, the way of repaying the debt we owe to Allah Ta'ala by living properly is Islam, is complete submission, willful submission, peaceful submission to Allah. And inna deena Allahi, inna deena inda Allahi al-Islam, the religion or the way of life with Allah is Islam. And I don't want anybody to think that I'm being exclusive, or I don't want anybody to be exclusive. That does not, in saying that in the Quran and in us saying that, does not mean that we exclude anyone who calls themselves by a different faith name. Does not mean that people calling themselves Christians or Jews or another valid faith, which I don't know, would not be under the title of having the title of Islam. Islam means that the one who seeks to submit their will to the will of the Creator. That's what it means. And that is the only thing that Allah will accept. And there's nothing else that can stand validly in front of Allah Yawm al-Qiyamah, on the day when we're raised up. Only those who have lived their life with the effort of submitting their will to the way that their Creator wants them to be. And many, many people are doing this. And I tell people this all the time. I was in a synagogue recently, I was in church. Tell them, you would never want to take that term Muslim because it's an Arabic word that you don't understand, but your lives represent that you want to live this way. And if you understood it, you'd be happy to take the title of Muslim. And if we understood it, we would be happy to call some of our brothers and sisters in other faiths Muslim and say that they are following the way of Islam. Because to say that they're not means they're not acceptable to Allah. And we're not exclusivists like that. We are not, Muslims, we can't be excluding people. So that we understand that Allah only accepts submission to Himself. And in Surah Al-Ma'idah, He says, Allah Ta'ala says, and again, when we say what Allah says, we have to say what Allah said. We can't say what the translator, interpreter, etc., etc., said. So if you're going to say what Allah said, say it in Arabic. So in Surah Al-Ma'idah, which is Surah 5, the table spread, Allah says, Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum. This day I have perfected for you your way of life. What that means is that when Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with this message in the Kitab Allah, in the Book of Allah, that was recited to him as Quran, and which we recite as Quran, we recite and read as Quran, that when that came, this way of submission to Allah was perfected. Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum. I have perfected your way of life for you. Wa atmamtu alaykum. I have completed for you ni'mati, my favor. I have completed my favor upon you. So, with the Khatam al-Nabiyyin, with the seal of the prophethood, meaning Muhammad is the finality after all of the prophets that have come from the beginning, from Adam till Muhammad ibn Abdullah, Muhammad the son of Abdullah, that now this way of life is perfected. Now you have it perfect. Now you have it in a way that will remain with you, will not be corrupted. That some people would argue that point, but it's there perfect in the book. It's not there perfect in the people. It is there perfect in the book. Okay? So our way of living, this way that we have of living, of worshiping, of eating, of dressing, everything that we do, this is the perfect way. And the diet is a very, very strong part of that. Actually, it's been a strong part of all the religions. Probably, the Jewish book or the Old Testament has a lot of detailed recommendations, commands, prohibitions, etc. about diet. The Christians got a little liberal when they actually, I don't even like the term Christian because that means like Christ, and then they're not. But anyway, that's their title. Some people say that you should call it a Paulist religion because it's more what Paul established. It's not what Prophet Isa, Jesus, alayhi salam, established. But anyway, the guidance for food is in all of the books. It's in all of the books. The thing about it is books have been corrupted, things have been taken out, put in, changed, etc., etc. But the guidance for food is in all of the books. And what we have is perfect guidance. So this way is perfect. And if we live according to the commands, according to the prohibitions, according to the advices, ma'idhat, the guiding advices, if we live that way, and the examples given to us in the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then we have a perfect life. But this perfection is something we strive for all the time. It's very unlikely that we will achieve it, but in that striving for perfection, at least we become better in our own selves, from the past to the future. We get better. The deen is perfect, no doubt about that. We have the perfect deen. And the formal, our salat, our informal worship, the dua, and the dhikr, and other things that we do, our hygiene, our manners, all of these things, these are part of our deen. And the diet is part of the deen. Some things have been very, very badly neglected. So we know that the promise of Shaitan, and this is just review, the promise of Shaitan was that he would mislead us, and that he would put in us desires for things that Allah has forbidden. Go all the way back to the garden, Adam and Hawa in the garden, and Allah said, Ya Adam, askun anta wa zawjuka, you and your wife live in this garden, وَكُلَا مِنْهَا رَغَدًا حَيْثُ شِئْتُمَا, and eat with pleasure from her as you like, وَلَا تَقْرَبَ هَذِهِ شَجَرَةً, but don't go near this particular tree. So from the beginning there was the commands about the food, there were prohibitions about the food, and Shaitan, فَعَزَلَهُمَ الشَّيْطَانُ, Shaitan caused them to slip by that gradual wearing down, getting them to accept something that Allah had forbidden. So we know this. And we know that in the Quran, when Allah talks to us about food, the main ayah about food is also one of the places where He says, وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطَوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ, don't follow the footsteps of Shaitan. He's going to lead you off the path. He's going to lead you astray. How? Related to your food. That ayah is Ya Ayyuhan Nas. It's addressed to all humanity. In Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 168. So that ayah is in Surah Al-Baqarah, and it's ayah 168, and it's one of the ayah that is Ya Ayyuhan Nas. Oh, you human beings. It's addressed to every human person. Ya Ayyuhan Nas, Kullu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiban. Eat from what is on the earth, permissible and beneficial, and permissible and wholesome. وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ, and don't follow the footsteps of Shaitan. إِنَّهُ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ, because he is surely an avowed enemy to you, a clear enemy to you. And this is related to food. That the Shaitan, and he says, he's like very arrogant, very, confident to Allah, when he's speaking to Allah about what he's going to do related to us, right? لَأَضَلَّنَهُمْ, I will certainly misguide them, cause them to be dolal, when we say in Surah Al-Fatiha that we don't want to be min ad-dallin, Shaitan is saying, I'm going to cause them to be in that group of those who are misguided. So that's his promise. And when you look at it in the Arabic, you see the noon mushaddad, the noon with the shaddad, which is a noon of certainty. So when you have something in a word, and you have this, because the word inna means surely or certainly, inna. So when you have a verb and it has that built into it, not the alif, but this noon with the mushaddad, then that means something that you intend to definitely or certainly do it. And that's the way that the Shaitan speaks about how he is going to misguide us. And he says that he will misguide us, and he will also put desires in us. Definitely, he says, I'm surely going to misguide them, and I'm surely going to put desires into them. It says, this is from Surah Al-Nisa. He says to Allah Ta'ala, لَا تَخِذَنَّ, I am surely going to take min ibadika, from your servants, نَصِيبًا مَفْرُوضًا, a certain portion marked off, وَلَا أُدِّلَنَّهُمْ, and I will misguide them, وَلَا أَمَنِّيَنَّهُمْ, and I will cause them to desire things. And then Allah Ta'ala says in another place, in Surah, which surah is this? إِنَّ كَثِيرًا لَا يُضِلُّونَ بِأَهْوَائِهِمْ بِغَيْرِ إِلْمٍ, that many people will be misguided because of desires. So this is another thing letting us know where we have to be careful in the things that we want, we crave. We what they call comfort food. Stuff that just makes us kind of feel good. That's what we want. And so we have to be careful. Let me go back to that slide where that was in slide 7, I think. And he says to Adam and Hawa that I am only inni لَكُمَا لَمِنَ النَّاصِحِينَ. I'm just an advisor to you. I'm just telling you what's good for you. This deception. And if we can't see this happening, Shaitan is not dead, okay? Shaitan is still alive. He is still working against Ibadullah, the servants of Allah. That's what he said. I'm going to take from Ibadik, from your servants, a portion marked off. So he's working all the time, and Allah is telling us, pay attention. So when these things are coming to us related to food, and they're telling you, it's okay, it's not toxic, there's no proven harm to you, we have to do these things because we have a population growing on this planet, and if we don't do certain things, we're not going to be able to feed the people. You know, this is the type of thing, these are the type of things that Shaitan was saying to Adam and Hawa. You know, it's just because of this, and that wasn't really what he meant, and it's just, and I'm really being sincere, telling you the truth, you know, and it's only that you might become like angels, or you might be able to live so long, and, you know, and then he keeps, you know, wearing you down, and that's exactly what's happening in the food industry today. It's just we don't kind of look at it that way. These people are motivated by satanic thoughts and satanic influences. So, many people, Allah says, وَإِنَّ كَثِيرًا لَيَضِلُّونَ بِأَهْوَائِهِمْ, that many people will be misguided by their desires, بِغَيْرِ إِلْمٍ, without knowledge. So, one of the places is where we're told not to follow the footsteps of Shaitan, is what I just said, Surah Baqarah, Ayah 168. There are other places where Allah says, don't follow the footsteps of Shaitan. To understand how important the food is, and this aspect of food, we have to constantly remind ourselves that the MO, the modus operandi of Shaitan does not change, that that's how he deceived our parents, that we have the same weaknesses that Adam and Hawa, our mother and father, had. We have those same weaknesses. We can be deceived, and we very often will be deceived related to food. But hopefully we will be like they were, that we will come into a position of knowledge, and we will say, Astaghfirullah, I've wronged myself, Zalamtu nafsi, I wronged my own soul. They said, Zalamna anfusana, we wronged our souls, because it was two of them. And we can say we wronged our soul, and then we try to correct what we've done wrong. Because this stuff is really strong. So we have also in Surah Baqarah, the other ayah addressed to Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, and we mentioned this also last time, that when Allah speaks to us out of humanity, and He's only speaking to the believers, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, O you who believe, He doesn't even repeat the halal. He only says, eat the tayyibat, what we have provided for you. وَاشْكُرُوا لِلَّهِ إِن كُنْتُمْ إِيَّاهُ تَعْبُدُونَ. Be grateful to Allah if you worship Him. So this lets us know that our challenge, the challenge of humanity, of all humanity, is halal, to know what's permissible and beneficial. But our challenge, the challenge of the believers, is to pay attention to what is tayyib. And I did go into that a little more last time, so I'll say some more about it. That's our challenge. The challenge for us is the tayyib, to know what is good and beneficial for us and what is not. And also, we are told to only eat what the name of Allah has been pronounced over. That we should not be eating anything unless Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim has been said over it. And that's in Surah Al-An'am. That says, Kullu mimma dhukira ismullahi alayh. Eat of what the name of Allah has been mentioned over. Kullu mimma dhukira ismullahi alayh in kuntum bi ayatihi mu'minun. If you believe in His ayat, in His signs. If you believe in the signs of Allah, then don't eat anything except what the name of Allah has been pronounced over. That means you don't eat unless you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You don't drink unless you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And when you forget, because, this is something that is so prevalent today, I notice it so much. You know, it used to be standard. We weren't Muslims, but we always prayed before we ate. We always did. You know, and especially when the family got together, prayer was going to be said before anybody ate their food. Now we just, you know, kind of forget. I've been places where there's a community that I work with in Pennsylvania, they say the Fatiha over their food before they eat. And they don't just say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You don't have to go to that extreme. That's a good thing. When I sit with them, I'm like, this is a good thing. So I've started doing that too. I was at a Jewish synagogue a few weeks ago, and they had a luncheon, and they surrounded the table, and all of them prayed over the food aloud. It wasn't quiet. They all chanted this prayer over the food before they ate, and I'm like, you know, this is a good thing. So, and when they were finished, their chanter went and took the microphone and led an oral prayer to end the meal. So they had the prayer before and the prayer after, which is what we're supposed to do. So, you know, it's something that we've kind of gotten away from. So this is something that, and not doing it is not paying attention to what Allah said in Quran. Because he said, don't eat, he said only eat, he didn't say don't eat, but only eat what the name of Allah has been pronounced over. And the other thing, in the ayah from Baqarah, when he's speaking to the believers, he said, washkuru lillah, be grateful to Allah. So we should have the Bismillah at the beginning, be grateful during the eating, and when we're finished, say Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Ladhi at'amana wa saqana wa ja'alana muslimin, who gave us something to eat, gave us something to drink, and made us Muslims. So this is something we should do. Other discipline, basic discipline about the food that we talked about last time was to eat in season. This is from Quran, this is from Surah An'am also. To eat athmarihi idha athmara, the produce as it becomes ripe. And we said this means eating seasonally and also eating from a reasonable distance. You shouldn't be getting food from the other side of the world, because if that's happening, then it's being picked before it's ripened. And what's grown on the other side of the world is for those people over there. What's for us is what's growing here. So that also means, you know, to pay attention to eating seasonally and eating local, which is a theme that is coming now, you know, with the organic and the sustainable produce thing, is to eat local and eat organic. Another thing, and that's in Quran. So, you know, this is in Quran, and we can eat what we have preserved, because we don't have food growing year round like maybe they do in Florida, California, and, you know, some places in Texas maybe. So we can preserve by jarring, canning, what we used to call canning, putting stuff in jars, freezing, drying, you know, these type of things, and then eat from that in the winter when we don't have things. I mean, we ate food all year round, you know, but it was in jars in the winter. So another basic principle is la tasrifu, do not waste. Because Allah says, إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُسْرِفِينَ. He doesn't love those who waste. So these are things that we're not paying attention to, but we have to pay attention to. When we want to look about why we don't have the blessing of Allah, we need to look at what we're doing. Because the blessing, the barakah of Allah is always there. So it's something that we're doing why we don't have it. The ummah and us as individuals, our families, us, you know, like myself as an individual, my family, the Muslim community, we need to look at what we are not doing that may be keeping the blessing of Allah away from us. And there are commands in the Quran, just clear commands in the Quran that, you know, we're kind of not paying attention to. And the waste is one of them. And particularly you see it a lot during the month of Ramadan if you go to masajid to eat. It's very painful, which is why I usually don't go out. So because that's a time when we should be more conscious, and we seem to be less conscious. So we have a lot of progress. And the last thing I want to mention in the review is azkatan, the most pure food, the best food. This is mentioned in Surah Al-Kahf. You know, when the sleepers, they were asleep for like 300 years, and Allah says, I added 9 more for the because of the difference between the lunar and solar. And when they woke up, it said, one of you go, ahadakum, with this money of yours, ila al-Madinah, go to the city, فَنَّظُرَ أَيُّهَا أَزْكَى طَعَامٍ, see what there is of the best and purest food and bring that back. So that when we go out looking, that we should take that principle on also and seek the purest, the best, and not settle for things that are less because they cost less. One of the things you shouldn't do when you're searching for your food is only be looking for the cheap. You want to look for the best quality and get that, the best you can. And when maybe what you want you can't afford, then you get the best quality of something that you know is good, that's maybe, so you can't afford that particular, wild-caught salmon, which may be $16 a pound. So maybe you don't get fish. Maybe you just get some lentils and some rice and a salad, The clamshells of salad are still $6 for, a lot. It's enough to probably get you 10, 12 salads out of there. So there are different things that we have to learn to do, but we always have to seek to, first of all, obey Allah, and then to make the best choices in that obedience to Allah. All right, I want to go on now to the second part. So to understand the main purpose of our existence is that we are created to worship Allah. And this Ibadaat, when Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Al-Dhariyat, which is Surah 51, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I did not create the jinn and the human being for any other purpose than worshiping me. The only reason I created these two races, these two entities, was so that they would worship. إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. So that the main purpose of our existence is ibadat, it's worship. It is to worship and serve Allah. And in that worship and service, there are many, everything that we do, when we understand it, everything we do, in trying to do it for the sake of Allah, or do it in the way that Allah wants, then that becomes worship for us, including sleeping, which I didn't do very well last night. But that we should try to conform our sleep to the best way so that that rest serves our body so that we can better serve Allah. So that's the whole purpose. Everything that you do becomes worship. The way that you eat being a very big part of that. Eating with moderation, eating the best things, pronouncing the name of Allah, eating in particular times, and not eating in particular times when you know it's not good for you. So all of the things that we do begin, when we do them properly, they enable us to live in the purpose of Ibadat. And when we don't do them properly, it's taking us away from that. So, I wanted to read this. When we are properly nourished, strengthened and healthy, our ibadah is strong and focused. When we're properly nourished, meaning we're eating properly, and that food is strengthening our body, and that food is creating health in our body, then our ibadah, our worship, is strong and focused. How we eat is very much a part of the worship. And one way of taking us out of this is eating what Allah has prohibited, eating what is haram. There's a very simple way to understand this. Allah said in Surah Al-Ma'idah, أُحِلَّ لَكُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتِ. I made permissible for you everything that is good for you. Everything that is good for you is permissible for you. If it's harmful, it's haram. It's forbidden. It takes a lot of thought. It takes a lot of effort to live in that. But that's what we have to do. So, what I want to start with here are problems we have with our food. One of the things is the corruption and deception that has been put into the food or has been, chemically done to the food to cause it to be haram for us. Deception in the food. Making something, look, when you go and you buy a perfectly shaped, perfectly colored red apple, and you take it home and you cut it and you bite it, and it has no flavor, you know something's wrong, don't you? You know something's wrong with that apple, because there's no way it could look that good and not have any taste. Or you peel that orange or cut that orange, and it's very orange and it has juice, and you bite into it and it has no orange taste. So something has been done to that to deceive you, because that is not natural. Or you buy some salmon, you didn't pay attention, you pick up the package and it says dye added, farm raised, and you know that is not natural. It's not normal. You've gotten some food that is meant to deceive you, and most people don't pay attention to it. I think I told the story last time about, every once in a while I would buy this bag of Pepperidge Farm cookies, because Pepperidge Farm used to be a company we could trust. And I was just eating a cookie one day and just looking at the bag, and I saw this little fine print, and I got my glasses and I looked at it, and this is partially created with genetic engineering. And I'm like, what? And I had to throw my cookies in the trash. And I said, see, this is the thing. They put something in little tiny letters, or they don't put it at all, because some things they don't have to put. If it's under a certain percentage, they don't have to put it. So we have this deception going on. Things are dyed. That orange that has no flavor probably has orange dye in it. The apple that looks so pretty has had some color and some wax put on it to make it nice and shiny. And how come all the apples look the same? That's a little sign right there. Things don't come off the tree and they're all the same size and all the same shape, and et cetera, et cetera. Eggs don't come that way either. So when you see the eggs, and all of them are the same, they're all even. And all this, I was in a laboratory one time, because they grow bacteria for the, what's those, flu injections and different vaccines in eggs. I was in this laboratory, and all the eggs, all of them, exactly even, all the same, layers and layers. I'm like, something is wrong here, because eggs are not like that. If you've ever had a chicken yard, which I grew up on a farm, eggs are not like that. They're not all the same. So we have deception. We have dyes, we have MSG, EDTA, TBHQ, enhancers, preservers, etc. If they have to abbreviate it, you shouldn't eat it. They couldn't even spell it out. Why? Because you won't recognize it, and when you see it spelled out, I counted the letters in that, what was it, EDTA? One of them had 26 letters. That's all the letters in the alphabet. But it wasn't all the letters in the alphabet. That's how many letters are in the alphabet. But the name of that thing had 26 letters. And who could read it? I could hardly pronounce it. So they're going to abbreviate it for you. It sounds more benign that way. It doesn't sound so dangerous, right? But you don't know what it is. So we have flavor enhancers, preservatives. They put bleach in the milk to make it more white. Because if you could see it in the color that it actually is, you wouldn't want it. Deception, deceiving. There's nitrates to preserve the meats. Powdered animal bones in sugar, white sugar. Some things they give themselves away with, like the abbreviations, it's like, that's a key clue right there. I was in the store one time years ago, and I saw something that said vegan, V-E-G-A-N, sugar. I'm like, why would they have to put that on sugar? And then I thought, because years before that, we had checked with Domino, what is it, Domino Sugar? It was one of those big sugar companies, can't remember. We had a Muslim woman working on her PhD in agricultural science, and she contacted this company and asked them about the additive in the sugar, and they admitted they were grinding bones into the sugar as a filler and a whitener, and it was pig bones. So for the vegans now who have big lobby, the vegetarians and the vegans, they put on the sugar, on certain bags of sugar, they put vegan sugar to let you know in this sugar there's no animal bones. Shouldn't be any in any of it, right? But that's the deception. You don't know. And then you say, okay, I'm not going to buy any of that sugar, but you buy the cookies. or you buy the candy bar, or you buy the cereal, which is full of sugar, and you're getting it anyway. So this thing is, we're being corrupted, deceived, and we're getting haram things into our bodies, not thinking. Shaitan, innahu lakum aduwwun mubin. He is a clear enemy to you. Clear enemy. Canola. Oh my God, what they have done with that. I mean, that is like, that's like a marketing and a deception, what do you call it? It's like a feat. They've just really outdone themselves with that. I mean, in the health food stores, shelves of canola oil. Whole Foods, which is supposed to be like one of the better stores in terms of healthy foods. Most of their foods are cooked in or have the canola oil in them. Years ago, I don't know, maybe 7 years ago or more, I wrote them a note and I said, do you have to put canola in everything, which prevents me from getting these things? And it didn't make any difference, of course. I don't know how many people might have complained. What's a canola? You've never seen one because it doesn't exist. There is no such thing. If something says corn oil, you know where it came from. Safflower oil, you know where it came from. Sunflower oil, you know where it came from. Olive oil, you know where it came from. Canola oil, there is no such thing. Canola stands for Canadian oil because the research and the chemical manipulation of the rapeseed plant to make it non-poisonous for human consumption that successful activity was done in Canada. So canola is Canadian oil. They named this plant, once they got it, genetically modified to the point that it wouldn't kill you by eating it. Then they're marketing it to you, organic canola oil. It's still bad because it's not anything that naturally comes from the creation of Allah. It's a deception. And they're selling gallons of it. And restaurants are buying it. And so when you eat out, you don't know what you're getting. You don't know. The soy and corn crops, probably 80% at this point, are genetically modified. So when you get potato chips with soybean oil or cooked in corn oil, you're probably getting genetically modified oil or oil from a genetically modified plant. What is the answer? I mean, you have to do the best that you can. Knowing that, you have to stay away from certain things. Buy the sunflower oil. Buy the safflower oil. Buy the peanut oil. Even though the peanuts have a lot of chemicals in them, I don't think they've genetically modified them yet. But they got a lot of chemicals. Seedless produce. Is it natural for something to not have a seed? For an orange to not have a seed? For cucumbers to not have seeds? For watermelons to not have seeds? And when you go look for a watermelon, you can hardly find a seeded watermelon. Past weeks or months, I'll go to the store and I can't find a watermelon with seeds in it. I'm like, what? And for some people, especially if you grew up down south, you would say, that's a sin. That's just terrible. And then they wonder, why are the people so sick? We have more sick people in the United States of America, probably per capita or whatever, than probably any place else in the world. And one of the things we've got are hormonal imbalances. So you got, you've genetically engineered the food to not have natural productive tendencies, right? Not to produce seeds. Then you have men and women who can't produce seeds. Women who don't produce the eggs for the ovaries, men whose sperm count is low, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not saying that's the only reason, but that is a doggone good contributor to that problem. And then they're going to pay money. See, this is the thing about this society. We'll create a problem, but we will sell you the solution. And they'll pay a lot of money for these, these treatments and stuff. The animals that they've cloned and continue to clone And every once in a while you hear, oh, somehow some of these cloned animals got into the food market. Oh, we don't know how that happened. So then you end up eating abnormal things. The fish that's being farm raised and being fed garbage, which is not something that we would eat. Just the reason one of the reasons, not the total reason, one of the reasons we don't eat pigs is because they were created to clean up, right? To eat the garbage, to eat the waste. And we don't eat that. So any species that is being fed waste, we shouldn't consume that, because that's corrupting the purity of our bodies. So we have to really think, these are the corruptions and deceptions that are in the food. Another thing is changing the nature of the food. Pasteurizing the milk changes the nature of the milk. It kills the natural bacteria that is needed to digest the milk. That's why we have so much lactose intolerance. But most of the milk that is being produced, you would not want to, we shouldn't want it at all, actually. It's really nasty. If they didn't pasteurize it, it would kill you, most likely. If they didn't kill all that stuff that's in there, it would kill you. So they have to do that. The thing is, there are raw milk products, and people say, oh no, raw milk, that's dangerous. They sell raw milk cheese. You can buy raw milk cheese here in Virginia, Maryland. In Pennsylvania, you can actually buy raw milk. They still allow raw milk to be sold. Here, for whatever, it's forbidden. But people, what they do in Virginia, because I just had a friend up north do it, buy shares in a farm where they're buying like a share in a cow, and then they can get that raw milk from the natural dairy farms. We get ours from a Mennonite farm in Pennsylvania. I don't drink milk personally, but I do eat raw milk cheese. I like the natural butter and different things. But when you change things, you have changed the ability of your body to accept it. So all of this, I can't have gluten, I can't have dairy, when these are two of the main things that Allah created for you to live on, milk and wheat. It's like, we have to stop and think, wait a minute, something's wrong here. This doesn't make sense. Allah mentions the milk in the Quran and says that in the Jannah there's going to be a river of milk whose flavor doesn't change. One of the reasons I don't like milk is because I grew up on a farm, and as the grasses changed and the cows ate different grasses, the flavor of the milk would change. And sometimes they would eat a garlicky grass, and that would be in the milk, and I really didn't like it. So I have a real problem putting milk up to my lips. But I know that it's good. I know that that's much better than this pasteurized stuff. And I feel bad when I see people buying it, especially for their children. I think personally that getting rice or almond or oat milk or something like that is better than getting the pasteurized dairy milk. But, Allah knows best. I can't swear to that, but just that's my opinion. So also that the sizes are being increased with hormones. Plants have hormones too. So when you see things that are really much bigger than they should be, it's kind of a clue that maybe I don't want that, Somebody just said recently they got, Ruth that was here a few weeks back, when she said they got some chickens and the chickens were like turkeys, because of the hormones that they had been given. And she said, we decided we weren't going to buy those anymore when the other chickens we went to another place where the chickens were so small, and they asked the man, why were they so small? He said, because we don't give them any, hormones, antibiotics and all that stuff. So then they're natural. They're just like they should be. So when you see things that look abnormal, because they look bigger than what they should be, probably you should pass that up. Because this Miracle Grow that they put on stuff, that's a plant hormone. That is, exciting and, enhancing the growth of that plant in an unnatural way. Just like with bovine growth hormone, BGH or whatever they give to chickens, cows, and the cows get the bovine growth and the chickens get some other type of estrogen, fast growing. Chickens, they grow from a chick to a mature chicken so fast they say their legs break. Because, they're growing so fast that the bones haven't had a chance to develop, and so their legs break. So you have a lot of the chicken legs that, are broken. Also for me, and I would advise, I don't buy parts. I want to see the whole chicken. I want to see what kind of condition that chicken is in. You can cut it up for me, but I want to see it. So I don't go out and buy legs and thighs and wings and stuff like that, because I don't trust them. Because what they will do if the chicken is diseased, they will cut off the parts that are not diseased and sell them to you and throw the rest of it away. So, and sometimes they're abnormally shaped that the breast is real big, because they do that deliberately because people like breast, and then the other parts are real small, so they'll sell you the small legs and wings, but you don't know that the hormone is in that other part too. So you're getting, and probably most of us have noticed the enhanced chest, breast of men.
Yes.
The estrogen in the foods, the female hormones in the foods. It's sad. I am so sad to see these young boys, 12, 13 years old, and they have breasts like young girls. And you look at it thinking, you need a bra. But that's, it's like, but you feel, it's embarrassing for me to see you like that. I can't imagine how they must feel. But that's what's happening. So these type of things is the deception and the deception and corruption of the food. So one of the things is that, and these things, all of this stuff that I mentioned with and I wanted to say something about that, we know MSG has been around for a long, long time, right? Monosodium glutamate. Again, they're abbreviating it. It's a flavor enhancer, but also it does something to your brain to make you crave whatever it's in. That's why they talk about monosodium glutamate in the Chinese food, and then you get this sort of craving for Chinese food, but also people get headaches from it. So I wanted to talk, though, we know about that, and we see that it's in so many, especially like if you eat sour cream and onion flavored potato chips or barbecue potato chips or Doritos and stuff like that, you're going to see it in there. But the new ones that they've been putting in, this TBHQ and the EDTA, which they're putting in as preservatives to give things a longer shelf life and also to keep the color from becoming corrupted. So this interesting thing about this, again, they abbreviate it because these things are really hard to pronounce. TBHQ is tertiary butyl hydroquinone, or quinone. So it says it's derived, or it's a form of butane, and another place says no, it's not a form of butane. It's in Cheez-Its, and it's not a form of butane, and it is not toxic. So you can eat those Cheez-Its, what are the Cheez-Its are, I forget the company. Anyway, but when you see this stuff in there, I don't care what they tell you. It's like common sense should tell us, no. So it says that it allows the FDA, who we also should not, Food and Drug Administration, allows amounts of to 0.02% of total oils in the foods to be TBHQ. Why is the FDA limiting the amount? If it's not toxic, if it's not harmful, why are they keeping it down to such a low amount? The other question was, should a butane product be in food in any amount? They say, well, it's not from butane, it's a derivative. It's a derivative, and the butyl is what tells you that it is. Then they said, well, it's a butyl moiety, M-O-I-E-T-Y. It's not actually butane. It is a flammable gas that has been made into a food additive. And too much of it can cause tinnitus, ringing in the ears. A lot of people have that now. Hyperactivity, contribute to ADHD. Also can cause cancer or precursors to cancer. So these are things like, why bother with this stuff? And the other one is the one that has the 26 letters, EDTA. I can't even say it. It's ethylene edemia, I can't even say it. It's just like it's 26 letters and you just like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious kind of thing. You say it, it's like, okay. So, but it's a chemical that has been synthesized from this other chemical, ethylenediamine, which who knows what that is. Now, the thing about EDTA, first time I started paying attention to it when I was reading the ingredients in mayonnaise. We grew up on Hellmann's mayonnaise, and I loved Hellmann's mayonnaise. And one day I'm reading the ingredients, EDTA. I'm like, okay. I read all of the mayonnaise, all of the different brands. Not a single one did not have it. Then I saw Hellmann's that's like olive oil. Okay, well, maybe this one's better. Same stuff. Got EDTA in it. So I'm like, okay. So I didn't buy any mayonnaise. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to buy it. So then I started buying what's called veganase from Whole Foods or one of the health food stores. And they have it, different caps. The caps are different colors. One is purple, one is green, one is something else. The purple one has grapeseed oil. One of them has canola oil. That's why you got to pay attention. Just because it says VEGAN, veganase or veganase, doesn't mean it's good. You got to also read the ingredients on that too. So I buy the purple cap with the grapeseed oil. Just to help me, and I advise this for you, help yourself. Because we got enough problems in the society that are going to make us sick, are going to make us weak, are going to sap our energy, are going to challenge our immune systems without corrupting ourselves with food that we have a choice over. So we have to learn to be particular. That's all. And yes, we may spend a little extra money here and there, but that's the way it goes. You're going to spend your money on something, right? So be careful how you do it, but be careful to get what is best for you. It says mayonnaise is one of the most common foods in which you will find EDTA. And you will also find it in some places you might not expect. It says some of the less expensive, it actually said cheap, but less expensive soft drinks. So you have to pay attention to that. And it might say calcium disodium EDTA or calcium EDTA. It's still the same thing. It's a synthetic food preservative that you don't want. Okay. What happens with these additives, the colors, red 40, yellow 5, blue, whatever, what happens is the food becomes not good for you, not wholesome. That means it doesn't have the tayyib quality, which Allah says food must have. And then it becomes haram. And one of the Imams, rahimahullah, who had passed on from Boston, he wrote a book years and years ago called Lessons from the Garden. And he said, when a food loses the tayyib quality, which is one of the essential qualities, when it loses that quality, it becomes a junk food. And he said, junk food, now I'm quoting him, junk food is not halal food. Any food that is chemically made and does not give you the tayyib or goodness that Allah has made from the creation does not qualify as halal. It's not halal.
Yeah. Have you ever shopped at, and I'm sure you have, Restaurant Depot?
No, I've gone there with Swiya, but for me to just shop there, no.
Okay.
But I've gone there with her when she's buying.
Oh, yeah, business, yeah. But anybody can get it, I mean, with any kind of business. You don't have to have a particular restaurant business or anything. I got it with a landscaping business license, so you can get a car. And if anybody wants one,
landscapers have to eat too.
Yeah, we say.
Landscapers have to eat too.
Exactly, well, that's true. But, okay, because I try to investigate their stuff there also. They have 3 categories of meat. The A category, which is the Black Angus grass-fed only meat. That's the top of line stuff. Then they got the middle, then they got the everyday stuff. So I was just wondering, had you check them out, because I do try to get the top stuff, and I cut it up myself and package it and put it in the freezer. Just get a whole New York strip or get a whole tenderloin or whatever, cut it yourself, and then put it in the freezer.
I think that in what you're saying, that looking for the best quality, that's ezkatan, that's the purest, meaning you look for the one that has lived, been fed, and been raised according to the way that Allah would have it be. In order for things to be in their best shape, they have to live according to the plan of Allah. So when you say grass-fed, how should cows and sheep and things normally eat? They should graze, right? They're grazers. They should eat grasses. So when you see that, Grain-fed is not the best way that a cow or a sheep should be fed. So the grass-fed is going to be the best. Also, if you can know your farmer, that is the best, because then you will know what kind of conditions that animal has grown in. Not just the fact that it's been fed grass, but what kind of conditions. Was it allowed to go out and roam on the earth? You know, because some people say, oh, we fed them grass, but they never let them out the barn. Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's better to know the farmer. This is something that has happened to us, that we are so disconnected from the sources of our food. We don't know who the people are, you know, where they are. You know, so it says Mexico, you know, or Guatemala, or, you know, the fish and stuff is saying Vietnam, and, you know, I'm like, what do you know about what's happening there? You don't. And you got, one thing I do like about Whole Foods is that they have what they call local catch. And I'm sure, see, you all living here know better than me, because I'm not from here, where to get the local fish. They have a little bin that they have in front of their seafood counter with the ice and everything, where they have the fresh fish that have just come in from the fishermen.
Exactly.
And, you know, so then you can find the bass, the bluefish, the different things that will be there. And, you know, so we don't need to get stuff from Vietnam and Thailand and wherever, when you can get fish from right here off of your coast. And we're living on the coast, you know what I'm saying? So why would, you know, anyways, they're just things to think about. And also that fresh fish is much less expensive than when you go to the counter and they've got the fillets and stuff out there. When you buy that whole fish, it's maybe just say $6 a pound or $5 a pound, and you get it out of the counter where it's already been filleted and everything, you're gonna pay double that. So, you know, and like you said, you cut the meat up yourself. You could just say, give me that fish, you know, I'll take care of the rest of it, you know what I mean? I'll head it and you know, gut it and all that stuff. You know, I can still do that, and alhamdulillah, I can't do chickens anymore. I used to, but I'm like through with that. But the thing is, I think, is know the source, take it the ones that are, you know, with the eggs too. Be careful, it says cage-free. Okay, they're not in a cage, but they never got outside that big industrial barn. They may never have seen sunlight. Maybe there's no windows. So just kind of like, don't go for the okie doke. Try to know something about where you're going to get those eggs. That's why I don't buy eggs out of the grocery store. I get them from the farmer. Yes, I pay more, but you know, that way I can feel comfortable. I don't like not feeling comfortable with my food. So it's a challenge to some degree. But then again, if we share the sources, just like the brother just said, where they have certain things, if we share the sources, and we, even when we get to the point where we can co-op our money and buy things bulk, and support those farmers that are trying to do things properly, we'll be a lot better off. We'll be healthier. We'll stop supporting the health care industry in this country that keeps expanding because of all the sick people, and we will start, you know, supporting our own health. Inshallah.
I would like to share one, I'm sorry. Well, one more place that I found out is just absolutely the deal. It's called Gaines Market over in Newport News, Hampton. They have vegetables that, if you were to try their vegetables, I mean, and they look like they were done by a farmer, you know, bagged up and put in a bag and just stapled across, and they just, you know, they don't look manufactured or store-bought. They look natural, and they taste natural. It's called Gaines Market. I don't know if anybody knows about it. If you know about it, please go there.
Hampton, was it up Hampton Park?
Hampton City Parkway.
Yeah, Hampton Road.
Well, can you spell, how do you spell, is it Gaines with an N or Gaines?
Gaines with a G.
G.
But when you go by there, though, I think the G done fell off, so.
It's a red, like a big red barn.
It's a red barn right on the corner.
Can't miss it.
It's a Walmart right in front of it.
Okay.
I just want to mention white flour and white flour products. If you can, stay away from it. They got a chemical in it they use to beat you with. They say it actually attacks the pancreas and have to cause sugar diabetes.
Yeah, I think all of those, what you call simple carbohydrates, they do. The complex ones don't. We gave some papers out last time, these what's called signature foods. And if anybody didn't get it, I have to have Ismail make some more copies. But I'll just, you know, a couple of them. Like it says, if you slice a carrot, it looks like a human eye. It looks, you can see the eye, like the pupil, the center, and the radiating lines. Tomatoes have 4 chambers and red like the heart. So the signature foods are foods that look like a part of your body, and that's how you can tell that it helps that particular thing. It said eggplant, onions look like body cells. And it says that onions clear waste material from all of the body cells. They do absorb toxins and poisons. But one thing I found so interesting with this is that if a food, these foods, like it says celery, bok choy, rhubarb, look like bones because they're straight and stalky. They look like bones. It says they target bone strength. Bones are 23% sodium, and these foods are 23% sodium. Exact percentage of what's in your body is in that particular food to feed the skeletal need of your body. So, I mean, Allah Ta'ala is so merciful and so mathematically and chemically exact in what He has done for us, and then created these things to be in the shape of parts of our body to show that this will feed you in these areas what you need. And in terms of the male and female reproductive, for the female we have avocados, pears, and eggplants that are shaped like the uterus and the cervix, and then for men the figs, so that have a lot of the seeds in them. It says that the figs increase the sperm count and increase and that help to overcome sterility in men. So we have a lot of different things that if we just pay attention to them, we can take care of things with food. And one of the principles of the Prophet was that if he could heal something with a simple solution, he never went to the complex. So first we should look to trying to create health with foods, and if we can't do it, then we can go take some herbs or some supplements, but stay away from the prescriptions because you're going to end up in a worse shape than what you are.
One thing.
Yeah.
And if you're over there in Newport News where you talk about the games market, you probably don't want your meats from there though, because they got hog maws and crawdads and all that. But there's another places right close by, Annan's Bazaar, and they have halal. They have halal meats there. In fact, if you go there on Thursday, it's all fresh, and then I think on Friday or Saturday, then they'll freeze it.
Right near the game?
No, it's right. It's right on. It's actually on Jefferson. It's 11745 Jefferson, and it's right behind the International House of Pancakes. It's on a road. It's right. If you were at games here and just went up to Jefferson
Right.
and make a right, where Casey's Chevrolet and all that stuff, but it's on the opposite side.
Now,
And-
you said they have halal stuff. Is it a Muslim-owned business?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what we need. We need a Muslim directory that tells us where these things are,
Right.
Where we can get certain things.
Right, and they're open 7 days a week.
I know you
So
have
is
an
that a
iPhone
project for you,
there.
Tony?
Well, your
Sure,
iPhone,
why not? Sure.
it should be on there. Your iPhone, if you pull up Muslim Pro, they have stuff like that on there, like allow places to eat and all those things.
Muslim Pro?
Yeah, it's an app on your phone.
But don't you have to download that app?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe
So
I
that's a good project.
That's what I'm saying. You can download it.
This is that place where you can have this if you want. I was trying to
Oh,
print something.
and then, okay.
But it's
Okay.
right there, so.
I can have
You
it.
can have it, that's I messed
All right.
up.
So
I didn't ask what that was.
I had a question, Kevin.
Uh-huh.
One of them was about overpopulation. I know you mentioned it earlier. Do you think that Earth is overpopulated?
If the Creator sends the people, He has provided for them. There is no overpopulation. Do you know how much of the earth is unpopulated, not populated at all? And they said, even the scientists and everything admit that the food that is being produced is way, way more than what is being consumed. It's the waste. There is more than 50%, maybe, it could be like maybe 40% of what is being produced is being consumed and 60% is being wasted and thrown away. So no, there are not too many people. No, we are not in a shortage of food. And the one who creates knows best how to provide. And I think that's the challenge for the human being is to distribute that food. And we have the means to do that. But instead, we store and we burn and we waste. We would prefer, and I've seen this, to destroy the food rather than give it to the poor people.
Now,
And then you have the poor people going and digging in the dumpsters where they've thrown it away to get it.
that's what I was about to say. I saw someone doing this, elderly man, outside a food line. They threw away like the stuff in the delis, And I offered him some money, and he was like, I don't want it. You know, he eats out of there, I guess, all the time, because he knows they have good food in there, and they're throwing away.
Yeah.
And I also agree with you that it's not overpopulated. So I asked people who think so, and I said, well, why do you think so? I mean, they have no reason except somebody told them.
Somebody to
that there's too many
scientific
people
study
here.
said that.
But there's one other thing I wanted to mention that you mentioned when we were talking about Adam and Hawa, and they said we wronged our own souls, and the own was parallel too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now the significance of that, at least to me, you know, compared to religion, guys, in Christianity and in the Bible, their sin damned everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
To women to have labor pains and men to work. So they're saying the sin that we committed is our own selves.
Right.
It's not what everybody is. We didn't curse everyone to hellfire or condemn everyone. So it's just that, you know, just that the Arabic has the distinction between our and every pair and everybody else means that Allah is actually correcting what they're
And
what
that
they believe.
dua is left in there so that we can say the same thing. We wronged our souls. I didn't wrong you, I wronged myself, you know, so, so I'm responsible for me and you're responsible for you, and you know. Yeah, but the thing is that weaknesses do get passed down, I will say that we have the same tendencies because we have the same characteristics as our original parents. So the same tendency they had to forget and to be deceived, we have that same tendency. But the difference should be, is that now we know that, we're aware. They were not aware. They got kind of caught, you know.
That's why I say slip.
Yeah, he caused them to slip, and he took them down by deception. We know that now, and Allah has reminded us of that, I don't know, what, like 3 or 4 times in the Quran? Maybe more, that he is your enemy, he's your enemy. So and they said the jinn, Shaitan, and his party can see you from places that you don't see them. So that means you have to be so, aware of what's going on. And in the Bible it says this too, to walk circumspectively, you know, to pay attention to what's going on around you, because there are a number of things that are going to be harmful. So we have to, you know, but we do have to know our weaknesses. That's part of wisdom, is knowing your weakness. And then trying to sort of shore yourself up, or, you know, bolster yourself against your weakness.
All right.
And stay away from those things that will challenge your weakness. Like those cookies and candies and things. All
You're
right.
gonna make me start, all right? That's
All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Do you have any extra